What's up, YouTube? We are live. John Lynch just spoke to the media. He's not even gotten out of the room yet, and we're already here. I mean, you talk about instant reaction, John. None of this coming up in 7 minutes after the break. Here we are.
Or we'll talk to you tomorrow. No, we'll talk to you now.
Yeah, we'll talk to you now. YouTube, hello. If you are here, we appreciate you. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's let some people stream in here and dive into Deebo. I saw, were you in the, was the Ham YouTube in the Niners John Lynch stream chat there? Did I see that?
I threw a bunch of comments in. The problem is they are fast and furious on days like today. So it I don't know if it does anything, but peaked at about 6,000 people watching.
Yes, it did. I mean, it was up. It was hot. First and Ham podcast. Let's dive in. You want to dive into Deebo? What do you have to say?
I just want to say something really quick. He was offered. John Lynch makes a lot of money. He's one of the highest paid general managers in the league. Probably like $6 million. I mean, makes for GMs, like GMs aren't paid like coaches. If you make $3 million, you're a high paid GM. So he makes $6. He makes a lot. He was offered $15+ million to go work for Bezos 1 day a week to do Thursday Night Football with Al Michaels. He could have moved right back to a sweet pad on the water and been hanging out. He chose this. Like, listen, I've been in it. I never had the pressure of being a GM or whatever, but I know the time that it takes being sitting in the office. I have a lot of fucking respect for this guy that he turned that down. And he even acknowledged, like, it was a lot of money to stay on the grind. And who knows, maybe if they had pulled off a Super Bowl either this year or, 2 years ago, maybe his work in his mind would have been done. But I think you truly, I mean, guy, this is not some scout lifer. This is a former great player, Hall of Famer now, but clearly is successful off the field, does not need the money. So he's basically just doing it for the junkiness of being a football guy. Like Kyle does this because this is what Kyle's great at. It's all he knows, and this is a skill. John has proven he can do other things. And I'm not saying Kyle necessarily couldn't, but I just have so much respect. Today sucked for him. I mean, that had to fucking suck to have to go out there and do that and sit in front, given this situation. Like, and this is not, a lot of people were tweeting at me like, why did they do this now? It's not the league, which is smart. The league mandates every general manager talks before the draft. And like last year, the Niners, I'd probably do it on Monday or Tuesday now since they've been there every Monday or Tuesday before the draft. Usually it's not that big a deal, right? But you don't know Deebo's going to ask for a trade a couple weeks before this. So it was
a big deal last year too, right? Kind of out of nowhere. Now they put themselves in that position by trading up to number 3 last year.
Yeah, but there was build up before that, right? I mean, they had a month after the trade before it's not like they made the trade and then gave the press conference. There was
but that was the first time people had, and there were a lot of drama outside of their control about who they were going to take, right? Everyone
for sure
had guaranteed they were taking Mac Jones. I think you're right on John Lynch because I watched John Lynch today. That's like, I think he has a lot of fun competing. Part of the fun that comes from competition is the misery that it takes to compete, right? Like Andy Reid, who you work for, loves calling plays on Sunday. Now, does he love grinding at the office till 1 a.m.? A part of him probably does, or is at least addicted to that, right?
Loves it.
Yeah, loves it, but it is miserable. The press conferences are just miserable with no part of it to love if you're in John Lynch's position, because you can't say what you really want to say, which we can get into because I think, we can kind of translate what he wanted to say. But
see, like I was saying, like that's a part of the job today where to me last year, while it was really explosive, like a lot of people were interested, it was really more positive. They were defending this narrative outside their control that they could kind of go back and forth. This one, that sucks. I mean, it was pretty clear why Kyle Shanahan's like, yeah, you got this one, buddy. Because what's he going to say?
Well, John had a big laugh when somebody asked him, like, Kyle didn't want to show up today? Oh, today Kyle's focused on pick 61. Last year, pick 3, Kyle had time. Yeah. No, I think remember who we're talking about here, right? We're talking about a guy that went to Stanford to play 2 sports. A guy that went to Stanford to play baseball and play quarterback at first before he switched to safety, played minor league baseball, switched to safety, became a Hall of Famer. I think it's, when we get a shot of John Lynch in the booth sometimes during a game, he's getting the juice that he wanted when he left the TV booth, but there's still a level of juice that you can't ever get back on the field which I feel like if he could choose, that's what he would do. Is just go get right back on the field and play.
Yeah, and this is where I think, and listen, some guys that are like scout lifers are good in press conferences. So I'm not saying just because you're not like a former player or a famous guy, you can't be good in pressers. Like we've all seen enough pressers. A lot of guys, I would say, in 2022, in all the three major sports, like Bob Meyer, who knows? You can just name a million guys who can handle themselves just fine. But it is a pretty big benefit to have a guy that can pretty seamlessly handle himself in a situation where the questions he's going to try to avoid, but they're going to come. Like, I mean, it was the first 5 minutes, and rightfully so. I mean, this should be a New York, Boston, Philly level. Like, no one gives a shit about the fourth round. And he gave talking about these special team players and the draft is like, it's just not important. And honestly, Jimmy, who's been one of the bigger conversations all off season, like, feels kind of irrelevant today. I'll be honest. Like, it doesn't do much for me.
No, but part of it is that that it's not a debate about when or if Jimmy will go. It's just a matter of when.
Exactly. Like, what is there really going to be said now? Unless it's like, he's not going to say like, we've actually had some ongoing conversations. You might see something Thursday or Friday with him. Like, he's not going to say that.
Yeah. And he's also not going to say, well, it's up to Kyle to decide who the starting quarterback is. Right. He said, we'll talk about it later, but he said, you don't give guys like that away. In other words, we're trading. I mean, he's not our quarterback.
You would think, but there's someone has to trade for him.
Yeah. That's why I changed what my sentence was to, he's not our quarterback.
Yeah.
He's not their quarterback.
Did he announce? I know he didn't announce, but did he say Trey Lance was a starter? I was trying to tweet. I got too distracted.
I don't think he said it in those. I don't know. I don't think he said it in those terms. I was reading all the comments mostly, but yeah, I think
definitely said like Trey Lance our quarterback, right, or our guy.
So maybe something to comment. I'll check some tweets, see if somebody put it out there. But I think part of the hard part of the job is not being able to say what you want to say all the time. And I think part of what John Lynch loves, part of the reason he's here is I think he believes in the idea of a team. And I think he's pissed that they're doing business with Deebo the way business is being done. Now, he also did a good job of complimenting Deebo, which is important. But I saw a guy who said,
"You want to dive into the Deebo?"
Yeah, stuff? Well, I'm in it. I saw a guy who said, we've never had a problem with this in the past. We get guys signed. And what he's saying is, remember how we did it with Fred? We told Fred, show up and we'll figure out a contract. Remember how we did it with George? We told George, show up and we'll have a contract. We have a track record. If you show up, we will sign you and extend you. And
unless you're Nick Bosa, then you're under different rules.
Then you're Nick Bosa, you do whatever you want, but at least we have an open line of communication with you and Kyle, right? It's an excused absence, basically.
I bet there are a lot of videos coming back from Nick, Joey Bosa to Kyle, right? Shirts off, training. They're like, we're good, guys. And they're like, hey,
and cool. Also, hey, we let you do it and you came back good. We let you do it and you came back better. We let you do it and you came back even better.
Yeah.
I think John Lynch walked on eggshells a little bit because what he really wants to say is this is not how we do business. Show up. Like, that's what he wants to say. But he understands that he can't.
See, to me, I didn't take away as much as the show up because the times have changed a lot with that. I think it's more to air our laundry online through Jeff Darlington. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. This isn't Slappy A and Slappy B that are going to get fired tomorrow. Come to us. We drafted you. We believed in you. We helped turn you into a star. We never once badmouthed you when you were injured all the time and when you came into camp fat. Never said a fucking word. And he kind of mentioned this, that, he was like a little, like, times have changed. Basically, like, this isn't really how it happened in my day when I won a Super Bowl, when I played with Hall of Famers who were also crazy. Like, this is the NFL. It's public. I think he wants to crush Deebo and his agent for, like, this is low-level stuff. Like, what are we doing here? Even if you do want, just keep it. Because ultimately, if it was just a bunch of narratives out there, you'd be like, he could just be like, listen, we have our communication with him. It's good. He went specifically to Jeff Darlington and said that. So it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I think he's pretty pissed off.
I think part of what he's pissed off about is what I just said, though. The idea that we are not only are we not Slappy A and Slappy B, but we're not brand new. Like, we have a track record. Go check the track record, right? Kittle got paid. He came in. We did it together. Warner got paid. He came in. We did it together. And there's no reason to think if you come in, we won't do this together. And, he's talking about times have changed. It hasn't just changed since he played, but this is a departure from how they have always done their business, which we have a track record of, right? And now you could argue if Kittle had not played tight end, then it would have been maybe a little more complicated, right? Because his number was lower. Fred Warner's, we're talking about a bigger number here with Deebo. But, I think he's pretty annoyed, and not annoyed by the questions that he's getting from the media. He's annoyed that he's in this position and that they're in this position. And I think what he wants to say is this doesn't have to be this difficult. We want you here. We value you. We'll pay you.
Yeah.
Let's get this done.
One major takeaway is I don't think they are very close to pulling the trigger on a trade for him. And I saw Rap Sheet said it today to McAfee. If it happens, it would happen before Thursday or on Thursday. If it doesn't, he's not going anywhere. And I get back over and over. I don't care if he ain't showing up. They are not doing the Khalil Mack in middle of August. To me, they will gladly let him, because he'll look like the bad guy. It'll turn on him. They won't look like the bad guy. So, and to me, I would much rather just have him disappear than trading him for a future pick. So it's happening now, or Deebo's screwed. So Deebo almost has to double down, I feel. And I don't know exactly how he'd do that. But if he truly wants out, he has to convince him under no circumstances will I ever play another snap for you.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know the guy personally, but he doesn't feel like that type guy. Honestly, it just I'm not quite sure where his head's at, but feels like this is like some idea he's got that he wants out. And maybe it's truly like he doesn't want to be in California, which I understand. I do sympathize with that, of not wanting to be somewhere you don't want to live. Like I truly get that, if that's his reason. Now, he hasn't said that. That's been kind of talked about. And it may be just be as simple as they lowballed him at first. We don't truly know. Those stories will eventually, you think, would come out. But if Deebo wants out, he's going to have to even make it way uglier in the next couple of days. Like, time's ticking if he wants out. And it's ticking fast.
Yeah, it's ticking very fast. And I this is why I said on the podcast Sunday, I think part of it is he's got to convince them really quickly that he can't work with them and they can't work with him and that he's a lost cause. But I think they ultimately believe that he's going to have to show up at some point, whether it's OTAs, whether it's by the time the season starts. He doesn't have the backlog of money to not show. And then at that point in time, it'll be them that he's around and not them that he's around. And they'll be able to. Here, the other thing, I think they think ultimately the money's going to talk. That's the other read I had on it. Like, they think ultimately this is a deal that can be solved by money, as long as we just are able to communicate and do a deal. Because there's a lot of money they can put in front of them. And I don't believe that if they had put Tyreek's contract in front of him, we'd be in this spot. Now, I'm not saying they should have done that. I'm just saying there's a lot of problems that money doesn't solve. Generally, contracts is one of the problems that money does solve, with some exceptions. Devontae was an exception. But for the most part, money solves. Money doesn't make you happy, maybe, but it solves contract disputes.
Do you think it was the agent's idea, if Deebo was like kind of on the fence, wanted out, told him to tell someone, make it official, to go through someone to create this animosity, knowing that the 49ers hadn't talked to the public yet? Like, do you think it was that deep? Because why?
Yeah, maybe.
We had talked about it yesterday. A lot of guys, I would say no guys really do it the way Deebo does it, or did it, right?
Did it. Goes to a media member and says, hey,
Deebo
say that
Samuel
I told
me
you.
I want out.
No.
I mean, Jeff Darlington, who was deep in on the Tom Brady stuff, reported on him nonstop. And it's pretty clear that he's in with Tom Brady's camp. But it never said, Tom Brady said he will not play for Belichick anymore. Tom Brady said, like, Jeff Darlington's been doing this a while. And Deebo, I bet he's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, say my name.
I think you're right. And part of that is knowing that the clock is ticking because the draft is coming up. John Lynch said, quote, I can't imagine parting with Deebo. I can't envision a scenario where we would part with him. Later in the press conference, he said, it's life. Sometimes you got to work through things, and that's what we're intent on doing. So it does. I think it's going to be hard. Now, maybe he's also sending out the bat signal there. If you're going to give us an offer, don't come at us with number 10. Like, you have to give us a Godfather offer. But I think he's also sending the message that, guys, we're not going to just cut bait with Deebo without ever like just Deebo's over there. We met with him. Maybe he told us he's out and we're just going to accept that and move away. Not with Deebo Samuel. Like we're willing to put in some of the headache time in order to get Deebo Samuel on the field.
Well, and this is also where having a well-established human being in this business, right, who's been in the business now as a player, broadcaster, or an executive for 3 decades, has been through contract negotiations on both sides, who also at his core is a good guy. I think it would have been easy for old school guy to get a little defensive there and get a little angry.
A little, yeah, aggressive.
And he played it very like nice, which is key because you get aggressive with the younger millennial, which Deebo is, right? The mid-20 guy. I would say they get sensitive fast if he tried to play the tough guy.
That might be how we're here, is they said, hey, we can't, somehow maybe they didn't make an offer, but some idea of what the opening offer was going to be. And, maybe it's gotten a little emotional. Thank you, Jerome. Feels like Deebo wanted a deal now. Niners told him we'll figure it out in June or July, and Deebo got mad. It could be. Niners told him like, hey, when Garoppolo's gone, then we can get this done, right?
One theory I had, which is just human nature, he might need some money right now. And part of getting a big deal, let's just pick a number. He got a $20 million signing bonus. So just put yourself in a situation, whatever, money's all relative. If you have been in a situation where you needed 20 grand, 5 grand, 100 grand, $1 million, whatever the number is, and you're like, I need this money kind of now, and you're told like you can't get this money at minimum for another 3 months.
Right.
Again, I think people don't quite, money's all relative. What if he needed $7 million
absolutely,
right now?
Right? Like what we've talked about. He's made $6 million in 3 years gross before taxes.
California taxes,
travel,
agent,
stuff, home, whatever. Like even if you're not going overboard.
He hops on some private jets, guy, if you follow him on Instagram.
And I know all you, me, and everybody in this chat's like, I could live off half that in 3 years. You're right. You could. But I could just see how you get in that position. I can see it very quickly.
I would say this. Right. If you made $6 million in Santa Clara as a 23, 24, 25-year-old, and you also had some agent fees and different fees, I think you could blow through the money really quick. I could have easily at that age, not knowing, just whatever you're into. And the number one thing, again, rich people talk, I think the underrated part, and I don't know if he's paying for all the private jets or whatever, but $6 million gross in 3 years ain't really private jet life. I'd say that.
I agree. I mean, one leg on a private jet across the country is costing you at least $30,000, $40,000.
The one jet I saw felt like a 80, 90. It was
big. Maybe 80, 90. I mean, it's to me, you're getting a 3-hour flight for $40K one way. Yeah. So that, you do that a couple of times. Well,
isn't that net cash too?
Yes. You don't get to take that out of your paycheck.
Yeah. So that could add up fast.
Sorry. I thought John Lynch was better. He didn't grab for the bottle of water too much. He did do the ear thing. But tough spot. Again, I think there's so much you want to say and cannot that he made it easy on himself by saying, I'm just not getting into that. I'm just not getting into that. We love Deebo. We love Deebo. We love Deebo. I'm not getting into that. I thought he had a good game plan today, John.
Well, if he came out talking shit, Bill Parcells style, like this bullshit, we ain't trading him anywhere. This is not the way to handle it. Can't wait. As a former player, this would never fly on my watch as a team captain. I would rattle his cage when he came back in the locker room. Well, I mean, whatever the equivalent of that is in 2022, would that be the number one story headed into the draft?
It's number one story anyway. And that would take it to another level. I got to check the tape. Austin says he opened the bottle of water but didn't sip it. The bottle of water open is always like the first, like press conference start. It's like you sit down. That's usually how guys start press conferences. So if he didn't sip it, I wouldn't pay that if I were a millionaire. I think you probably get on private jet once and you just get the bug. You're like, I can't undo this.
Again, I just think it matters how much you make, and then you can be part of one of the clubs and you pay $500,000. If you don't want to own the jet, you get.
But you still pay for flights.
Yeah, but I think
and then you pay for flights.
I think there are deals like if you pay the huge amount, like let's say you pay $500,000 and then there are fees, right?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you still pay for a flight. You know what I mean? Like if you're flying California to Florida, you've paid your net jets $500,000. There's still a fee for the flight on top of that.
Yeah. But I think it's not like the exact money, maybe. I don't know. I mean, some people
I'm
just
asking somebody.
It's very, very expensive.
It's expensive. It's very expensive. Yes.
It's not $1 million a year or $5 million a year. Like people flying private are making 20, 30, $40 million or own the business which owns the plane. And then the business pays for the plane, but you got to be able to afford the gas and the pilot.
Yeah, like Garoppolo flies private, right? But not 100% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
So,
Mickelson had to sell his jet.
Yeah. So anyway, the point is like, you can see where he might. You can see it very easily how this gets emotional. The question is, can they stop it? What I saw from John Lynch was not a guy who was about to get. When you're drafting and you're on the clock, there is a moment in time where you have to make a decision. You have to pick a player. You just have to. The Niners have a timeline on this Deebo thing, as you've been saying. By Thursday night, like they've got to trade him or not trade him. And for them, unlike in the NFL draft, if you don't pick a player, you just get passed. The next team gets to draft, right?
Yeah.
If they don't decide to trade him by Thursday, guess what happens? He's just still on their team. So I don't think they're going to get bullied or get panic pushed into trading him. That's what I saw today from John Lynch was maybe he doesn't play for us for the rest of his career, but this is not the way we're not getting forced into this, not on short notice. No chance.
And you could also argue that it sets a precedent of, the moment a guy asks to bounce, he's able to leave. And it does happen historically in pro sports a decent amount, right? It's human nature. People want out all the time. And I think sometimes we live vicariously through athletes because like, God, I would love to do that. Love to have the juice at whatever my company is. Like, I'm fucking out. No more, but I'm still getting paid. Trade me. And it's like I think, and the media kind of gravitates usually to the player, or at least the modern day, in 2022, when we were kids, it was the opposite, right? Player got attacked. Now it's kind of shifted. Even though now it kind of feels like it's shifting back toward the middle a little bit. Stephen A is kind of speaking for all of us with Ben Simmons, which is kind of refreshing. But yeah.
When I saw that Russia bombed Ukraine, I was like, is this fake? Is this real? I got a kick out of that one. That was John. In the history of takes, like in the history of just 25-second takes.
Well, here one lane I think Stephen A has figured out. The NBA, 98% of their reporters are in with the NBA player/agents. They're not going to say very many things negatively, especially like really hardcore. He gets his own lane. Like in the football, it's like a war zone of like, oh my, did you see Derek Carr blow that wheel route? What the fuck is Brandon Staley doing? Holy shit, Kyle Shanahan. In basketball, it's like, well, if Russell Westbrook really wants this, and Stephen A just gets to be in his own little world attacking. No one else even threatens him.
There's something to be said for making $10 million a year, right?
But I'm just saying, like, history, that's what everyone's thinking. He's speaking for the people. Everyone saw the Ben Simmons thing. Like, well,
no. But what I'm saying is when you've made a lot of money, it's easier to say whatever you want.
But he, in fairness to him, he's been doing this for a while.
100%.
That's his lane.
Remember, we met Stephen A many years ago. And
cool as shit.
The same. He was exactly the same. Look at this. Whoa.
Jeez.
Whoa.
That's,
that is, wow.
Yeah.
I mean.
Put your Venmo of Haberman Venmo you $100.
Hold on. Let me tip my cap. That is Black and White Network. Been listening to the pod for years, guys. I'll catch the replay later. Great work. Keep grinding. It's 49ers Pod, Rhodes Rants, BW Sports. Appreciate you.
That'll get me and Haberman turkey sandwiches for lunch tomorrow somewhere.
That'll be
maybe a bag of chips, depending on where we're
one of us can fill up half our gas tank. No, that's very generous. Thank you for your support. We love it. And if anybody, by the way, speaking of that, if any of you that are here, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, we would love for you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. At last count, we were very close to 15,000 subscribers. We would like for you to hit that like button. We would appreciate that very much as well. Check out our podcast down in the description. Check out our friends at ButcherBox.com. We didn't intend to go from a $50 donation right into an ad, but, it was just natural, John. ButcherBox.com/ham.
The people do on inflation, tough times. So ButcherBox.com/ham. Here's what you do. You subscribe. monthly, weekly, however you want to do it, set it up. They can choose it for you, or you can determine your own amount of meat. 8 to 14 pounds, can feed up to 24 people. And when you do it, butcherbox.com/ham, guy, butcherbox.com/ham, you get a free ground beef for the life of your subscription.
2 pounds of ground beef in every one of your orders. Butcherbox.com/ham. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love, everybody.
What do you think? If you had to guess, it's almost 4:00 Florida time. How many protein meals have the Bosa brothers eaten today?
I mean, what do you think? They eat 8 meals a day, you think?
I would imagine there's a lot of like shakes, a lot of like chicken and red meats, and just a lot of just protein flying through there.
What is that grocery bill like?
I could just see the dad in the background when they were just training so proud. To me, the dad, if you told me how often does Pops come to the workouts with the two of them, it would feel like a lot, right?
Maybe daily? You think he's out there with just like a full brim straw visor on?
Honestly, it feels like they kind of roll as a crew. You know how the Gronks, like in their peak, it was just like 7 of the Gronk brothers and to the dad. It was like, they're just everywhere together. And over time, maybe a couple of them have gotten married or whatever. It doesn't feel like they're quite as tight-knit. The Bosa brothers feel like that is a close little clan of the dad and the 2 kids. And just, we are going to fucking get the quarterback. I heard the dad one time driving around, Greg Papa and Lund had him on, and he was bitching and moaning about holding calls, and he's watching, and it's just, I could see him pacing at home, watching.
You think him and Tim Ryan get along?
Oh my God. If you told me him and Tim Ryan text daily, I'll be shocked if they didn't. Former D lineman, right? Wasn't Tim Ryan a D lineman at USC? D tackle.
He was a SC guy?
USC guy, yeah.
Nick Bosa, the 49ers exercised their 5th-year option on him, so we know what he'll make in 2023, right? He's coming into his 4th year. You got to pick up the 5th-year option. $17.9 million in 2023 for Nick Bosa. This is one of the easier 5th-year options that has ever been picked up. So the Bosa brothers are the real reason for the supply chain shortages. Yes.
Trying to hide it, but it won't. Oh, there it goes.
This is one of the easier 5th-year options that have ever been picked up. When you look back, and I don't think people have forgotten this necessarily, but the 49ers, now part of it, they traded up last year, but they've drafted in the top 10 5 out of the last 6 years. They've been in the single digits drafting.
Jesus.
Right?
Right. I guess
DeForest,
the Trey Lance thing.
Solomon Thomas, McGlinchey, Nick Bosa. 4 straight years they were in the top 10. 4 straight years they were in the single digits. And those were not like, they didn't trade up to 9 for McGlinchey. They won a coin toss. Nick, they were just sitting there at 2, right?
And Kyler went 1, so he kind of fell into their lap, right?
And he fell in their lap. Then you had the Kinlaw, Ayuk, DeForest Buckner trade draft, and then you trade up to 3 for Trey Lance. But
they didn't draft Buckner. I mean, they inherited him.
No, I'm just saying this franchise was drafted, and it's not always this easy. Is my point. Like, it's obvious now with Nick Bosa that you pick up the 5th-year option, but it's not. It doesn't always go this way for a variety of reasons. So
yeah, to me, he just, obviously the quarterbacks, because we've had a lot of sweet ones come to mind, right? Lamar's, Mahomes, Deshaun Watson in trouble, Herbert after next year are just like, do we really need to email the league this? Is this like, do we have to do? Of course, yeah, we got it. And then there are the position players that just become no-brainers immediately. Like a couple guys the last couple years, like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, they'll fall into the Bosa brother camp of just like, yeah, picked up, like, do you really
and underpaid,
and ultimately picked up and underpaid immediately. Like, they're underpaid when you say halfway through their rookie season. It's
I mean, Justin Jefferson is probably underpaid by $20 million.
There's a chance that, given how much these guys are making, and given he's probably still 2 years away from getting paid, non-quarterback, he might be the best deal in the league. Chase honestly might be there right too.
Yeah, like, given where the contract
he makes a little, but Justin Jefferson was picked 22. So Chase does make some money.
Yeah, I mean, the 4th pick, his total was probably what, $30 million, $32 million. Jamar Chase.
I think ideally when you pick a player who is not a quarterback, because I think we judge quarterbacks a little bit differently, right? Like, ultimately, Trey Lance does not have to become Aaron Rodgers or Josh Allen for it to be a really good pick, right? If he ultimately becomes like some version of Dak Prescott meets, obviously he's got a bigger arm, but like something like that, he's going to be the quarterback for a decade, right? I mean, ideally you want a top 5 quarterback, but if he ultimately is the 9th to 11th range, that's more than serviceable to keep winning. Correct?
Yep.
Do you agree with that?
Yep.
Where I do think when you take non-position players really high, like you're looking for stars and you're looking for Deforest Buckner for Nick Bosa. And I don't think he was lying at all. I thought it was very genuine when he said Deforest Buckner's the hardest thing he's had to do or been a part of since he's been the Niners GM. And it's something that I would imagine that's a learning spot where it's like when you have a great player, and he had to also kind of take their own side. Like, we don't have, we'll see how this all plays out. You got to, Ayuk's part of this. And if Kinlaw comes back, like the story's not written, but I'm proud of him. Keep kicking ass for Indy. Like DeForest is winning that one right now. And Indy's winning that one, but it's not over. It's going to be, you got to come back. It's like 28-3 right now. It's going to be taking a comeback.
Like the Niners won the Mitchell Trubisky trade, but
ultimately, though, when you draft Nick Bosa, and same even if you
did they get Fred Warner in that draft with that pick? So maybe they did with the Bears pick.
That's a good question. Maybe they did because they didn't have many picks, right? So it was part of like adding it.
Fred Warner, 70. They got pick 67 in that trade, but maybe they moved back a few spots. I got to go back and look.
That makes that one. That's a huge win. But yeah, I mean, this is what you want to get: sweet players with your picks. Now, I think McGlinchey is a good example of like they would want to do over on that. I'm pretty sure, like I saw on YouTube when we hopped on, McGlinchey was hopping in after John Lynch.
Well, somebody just said Fred Warner's talking about Deebo.
Oh, that's why he's saying Nick Bosa's not there because they're guys there working out, right?
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, like the OTAs, the quote-unquote phase, whatever it is, where like the coaches aren't on the field, guys are there working out and training and probably doing some meetings. So when he gets asked, where's Nick Bosa, like Nick doesn't have to come. To me, where it's not that weird with Nick is he's probably your best player and no one questions like, oh, he's just sitting playing video games, eating ice cream. Like, that's not the deal. And I do think once they get on the field, he was there. No, he was rehabbing last year. It'll be interesting. Like OTAs, is he there? Like the true ones, the veteran one, he'll be there. But I'm just saying, like the other ones, and you could argue, does he need to be there? Because you would say that him and Joey and Pops, I'd say they got a pretty good idea what they're doing. Though, I guess the other thing with Nick is he's not a team captain leader type, right? He's not some rah-rah. He's just a sweet ass player. He's kind of like their Klay Thompson. He doesn't say much, but he dominates. But he keeps quiet. Like Fred Warner, George, like you need your leaders there. But this gets back to like ultimately it's pro sports, like your elite players. Like if Deebo was not doing a trade request and wanted to train, they wouldn't have a big deal with it, right? Wouldn't be a big deal at all. You get special privileges like in the private sector, the better you are. Trent Williams, if he doesn't want to show up, no one's going to.
Well, I've heard coaches say this, right? Like treat all my players the same. Why? They're not all the same.
But wouldn't that work in any industry?
Yeah.
Like Al Michaels, Joe Buck don't get treated like, your run-of-the-mill broadcaster. Dwayne Kuiper gets different treatment than some major league broadcaster.
Yeah, I got to talk my way into a parking lot, right? Al Michaels doesn't have to talk his way into a parking lot. And I don't go, well, Al doesn't have to talk his way to this parking lot. Why are you giving me a hard time?
You never want to be that guy until you're the guy, right?
I know of one very, very prominent ESPN broadcaster who once got suspended for his behavior in a college football parking lot.
That's pretty embarrassing.
For the way he treated a parking attendant.
What I wonder about people like that, are you raised poorly or is it possible you were raised okay and forget your roots? Does the bigger you get, do you just kind of get lost? You're just a narcissist. You get lost in yourself and you kind of lose touch.
Yeah.
Does the suspension kind of rattle you and go, that's the worst look ever?
That's a good question.
Some people know. I don't know. Like, it's pretty clear John Lynch, his parents did a pretty good job with that guy, right? I mean, it's just a pretty high level.
You know what? I was listening to Thomas Dimitrov's podcast, and he had John Lynch on. And John Lynch talked about how
he drove his Winnebago out here.
He drove his Winnebago out. Maybe it was a Mercedes Sprinter, but
where'd they do it?
John, I don't know. But John Lynch said, I grew up San Diego, a lot of military around. John Lynch's dad, I have not heard this story, used to take him out of school for the NFL draft. They'd watch the draft together. This is not 1998 either, when the draft was like a big deal. This is like Colts guy yelling at Mel Kiper, right?
Wasn't the draft on at night?
I don't know. He said my dad used to take me out of school for the draft. That's what he said.
I might institute that one day with little John MIDDLEKAUFF Jr. That's genius. You wouldn't have to now. It's on at prime time, but
that's a follow-up for our next John Lynch conversation. Because it wouldn't surprise me if the draft just happened at like noon. Like it wasn't a TV event. It's just, why would we work at night?
Well, he was drafted in 92, 93, so he would have been 22 then. So when he was 12 in my early 80s, who knows, right?
Like the big Elway, I guess. Yeah, that maybe
83?
The Elway draft. I mean, yeah, probably would have been. How old would he have been then?
Probably 10, 12, 11. Yeah, somewhere in there.
So, anyway, Nick Bosa easy. Here's the other thing about Bosa, by the way. Like Nick Bosa is not going to play for $17.9 million in 2023 without a contract in 2024, right? Like this time next year, Nick Bosa will probably already have his next contract.
I mean, I'd be a little surprised if he doesn't get extended this offseason because it's kind of
You're saying now coming into this year.
Yeah, because you can get him for 105, $107 million. I mean, it's hard to turn down that type of money because he's not really taking a discount, but it's like he could make more. He's been injured.
So you're saying make him the highest paid defensive end, make him the highest paid pass rusher right now, and it'll be less than you'd have to pay him when he'll become the highest paid pass rusher next year.
And having been injured, I think it's a pretty win-win, right?
Well, it depends. Does Dad say to Joey, just so you know, if Nick gets hurt and doesn't get another contract, he gets 35% of your money? We're going to hold out.
Did Joey Bosa get paid after his third or fourth year?
I thought he got paid after his third year.
If he did, then I would expect them to be able to pull it off because Dad obviously is a part of that, right?
Signed a 5-year, 135, blah, blah, blah. What was the date on it, though? I thought he got paid going into what was the Hard Knocks year? The Anthony Lynn year? Didn't he get paid that year?
I see him getting paid after the fourth year. So, I mean, it's not inconceivable that he waits.
Did he
got drafted in 16, 17, 18, 19. He got paid going into his fifth year, 2020.
Wait, 20 was his fifth year in the league?
That was going to be his fifth year in the league.
Yeah.
He was drafted.
He got paid going into that. Oh, so that was the Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
that was the
paid
Anthony
after
Lynn
his fourth year.
I couldn't remember how many years he'd been in the league. I didn't realize he'd been in the league that long. Because remember the Hard Knocks with Anthony Lynn, like that was one of the stories.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he got $78 million the moment he signed. $35 million bonus. I wonder if they did a Mookie Betts style where it's like someone forwarded me this about the Deebo conversation, how Mookie Betts got the $65 million signing bonus in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the Bosas, I would want my signing bonus to be in the offseason in Florida. Right.
So you just get it up front before you've established residency in your new hometown.
Oh, that's probably why they were able to do a Mookie, huh? He hadn't established residency.
He hadn't worked in LA yet, right? It's part of it where you working.
Yeah, the Bosas might be screwed.
Maybe it's not even about residency. It's about where you do the work, right? You go play a game in Kansas City, you get taxed in Kansas City. You go play a game in Seattle, you get taxed in Seattle.
But you're giving me the bonus before I've done anything. So if I'm living in Tennessee, you can do it.
Yeah, because I didn't play anywhere. I earned the money just sitting here at home.
I bet Freddie Freeman did something like that then too, huh?
Maybe.
Because I'd never heard of that with a football player.
But you got to have the cash to give it to him right then.
Yeah, the Chargers gave him $35 million. What would you guess Bosa's signing?
Baseball contracts historically, I don't think have worked like that. Baseball contracts
they did it special for Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
So if Bosa got $35 million in 2020 as a on the moment he signs, is Nick's
50?
Yeah, 45 to 50 range.
102 guarantees. I mean, I don't. Can you give him 105?
You know the good part is with
I don't think
salary caps, like inflation doesn't factor in. Like the cap's a cap, right? It's like, well, the money now relative to America. It's like, well, this is the
but
money's the money.
But I just think 2 years removed, like 102.
Well, there's a natural growth with salary cap. But I'm just saying specifically, if you were negotiating baseball players, you'd be like,
yeah,
well, $200 million 5 years ago is now fucking $320.
Yeah, if you did in Ethereum, then maybe it'd be different. But
it's true.
Corey says
people have pumped the brakes on that.
What?
Getting paid in Bitcoin.
I have noticed that. Corey says, "Am I the only person who thinks Deebo's actions seem a little desperate?" Although, by the way, I think. Okay, back to that comment in a second. I think I saw. There was a Rovell. I don't think he was talking about Trevor Lawrence. He was talking about a company. Maybe they got paid in Bitcoin. They immediately take that Bitcoin and transfer it to dollars. So it doesn't actually. They still get dollars. It's just part of the marketing as you do it in crypto. But you get the cash. Does that make sense?
Say it again. Sorry.
Rovell. I don't remember what. Maybe someone will remember what deal Rovell was talking about. This is a few months ago. I think somebody did a deal and then immediately they take the crypto and they they exchange it for cash or they sell it. Yeah. So you did the deal in crypto like for marketing, but you actually did get the cold hard cash that it was worth.
Well, here'd be my other thing.
Cold hard. I mean, it's all digital.
If you're giving me $10 million, if I want to buy $10 million of Bitcoin, I can. I wonder if it's for tax avoiding or something. Avoiding.
Am I the only person who thinks Deebo's actions seem a little desperate? I would say he is in a desperate situation if he wants to get traded. He needs to make the Niners feel that way because the clock's ticking.
You know what I wish he would have done is Russell Wilson style and list some teams, because it's like, you want to go play for the Jets? Like who? I would love to, like, could you just give me a team that you're interested in being traded to? Because I'd imagine him like, okay, you want to get traded? Where? Who do you want to play with? To me, that's a huge element that we have no clue on. That,
whoever will pay me.
Yeah. Is that all it is? Is this whoever's going to pay me? So if it's just that simple, then okay. But is there like, I really want to play with my buddy Alvin Kamara in this New Orleans, right? Or I want to play with Tom Brady.
I want to play for Mike McDaniel.
But that's not an option anymore.
Oh, I know. He liked a tweet of him and CD. I like a lot of tweets that some guy suggested some awful name to me on Twitter today, and I liked it.
Yeah, I would say in 2022, a like means nothing.
Which, by the way, somebody, Runaway Turtle, gave us this. I didn't do it earlier because we were in the middle of something. He said, thank you, Runaway Turtle. He said, name suggestion, Sky Cam Pod, high-level sports talk with Ham.
You know what I was thinking about is the delay of game actually kind of grew on me.
Delay of game's growing on you?
Well, it's just an easy name.
Delay of game. And the logo is, the three letters are dog.
Yeah, they don't love the logo. Shamath's Pod all in is so easy. That's
a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
We could have done, and we should have done back when he said it up on the wherever he was with his team was the no days off. That would have been a pretty just no days off. Just an easy name.
Now it feels like it's already.
Now it's running. But I'm just saying, if we would have jumped on that like 4 years ago, whenever Bill, that was either when they beat the Rams or the Falcons. It was just such an easy one.
No day NDO. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be. It can just be full calendar. Brick by brick.
And then you just have some like NDF,
NDF. NDO.
Or NDO. Yeah. NDO. Not as great.
From the jump.
Sounds too much like Rachel Nichols' old show. Whatever happened to old Rachel?
I don't know.
She just got her money and went into hiding.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you watch the new Winning Time?
I haven't. Is it good?
Oh my God. It's Jerry West had a line to Magic. It's one of the greatest lines ever. It's really true. He said, the only thing talent gets you is pussy and press. To win, you need to be an asshole.
What a line.
What a line. And I started thinking, it is kind of true. One of the most overrated things in our culture, talent is pretty overrated. Because we do hype up talent before.
That was the name of the book.
What?
Talent's overrated.
Yeah, it's true.
All gas, no brakes. Relay of game. Ham skin.
Foreskin.
The parlay. All right. Do you want to talk about Garoppolo for a second or not really?
I mean, what are you thinking?
I mean, he said it. You don't give guys like that away. We can foot the bill, if you want to call it that. We'll be patient. That's basically what John Lynch said about Jimmy Garoppolo. So saying we're keeping him to trade him, that's what we're doing here. We can foot the bill if we have to.
But they love saying that. And I don't even think they're like bragging they have money, but like, we're not afraid to pay a backup quarterback, maybe our starter, potentially our starter, maybe not our starter, $27 million. We get it. You said that last year. Like, no, Jed has money. Like, I mean, Levi's produces cash for you. Is that like supposed to be this? We don't need to trade him to you, Matt Rule? Is that what it is? Because did you see a headline today or within the last 48 hours that the Panthers aren't interested in Baker Mayfield? You see that floating around?
Yes, I saw what it was. I think it was rap sheet was they're not, if they're going to trade for Baker, it's not going to be before the first round. They want to see what things look like at number 6.
So he didn't say that they weren't interested in Baker Mayfield.
No, he was just saying they're not trading for Baker before the first round. You know, I mean, you could argue this for both guys. Why would you
Baker
trade
was like 27-7 his good year. Now, granted, there were no fans and stuff, but his good was pretty good.
Who did I see say maybe it was Orlovsky, like Baker's going to be the steal of the draft? Now saying like if you trade a 5th or 6th rounder for him, because you're not trading, right? The asking price on Baker is going to be lower than the asking price on Jimmy, or higher, depending how you look at it. Jimmy's more expensive in a trade based on what the Niners, you know, at this point, they're trying to get a 4th for him or a 3rd. Like Baker, the Browns, they can't even have him. However much you think Jimmy can't show up for the Niners, Baker's times 10 can't show up for the Browns.
Agreed.
So
Jimmy can show up for the Niners.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle could start him.
Yeah. But I just mean, even if you told me Jimmy came to OTAs, was out there with the sling or whatever he's doing rehabbing, like, I believe you. I'm not saying he will, but it wouldn't even be that weird. Like, Jimmy and Trey are noted friends. He gets along with everyone. Baker it's over. Their situation is, I would guess there's a decent chance they cut him. Now, the draft changes everything, right? Who knows, right? The Panthers, some of these teams. But we were on one day, and you're like, the Seattle just signed Geno Smith. Now, granted, I saw they gave him $500,000, which in normal society, like if any business gives someone $500,000, that guy wouldn't potentially last like 2 weeks or cut before camp. That guy would have a job. But in the NFL, maybe Pete and John are just like contingency plan just in case we don't get a Baker Mayfield, but they still feel Baker Mayfield-ish. But at that press conference after they traded Russell, John was blowing Drew Lock. Pete seems like he likes Geno Smith, right? Just like but he just having him around. It feels like Geno's back on the team because Pete wants him there. But the one thing, you cut guy $500,000.
They paid Matt Flynn $19 million,
but he backed him up, didn't he?
For a year.
Yeah, to me, it's different though. Keeping a guy like you don't win the job, you back up for a year. Because I don't think he got cut. You would cut Geno Smith if you traded for Baker more than likely, right? And just have 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah. Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they'd keep 3 quarterbacks.
Maybe I guess you could.
I think this is interesting. Do we get a half-assed Deebo effort this year and lose him next year for nothing?
No.
Well, you don't lose him for nothing, because you can tag him, worst case. And if he needs money now, then he'll definitely need it in 6 months. And if he's got a contract,
he's got a lot of line too.
Yeah, he has incentive to play well.
I also don't think you can play half-ass just as a football player. It's really hard and very noticeable immediately, right? It's much easier doing basketball. You're like, God damn, did you see James Harden last night giving up? It's pretty hard in football. What are you going to do? Just lollygag across the middle? I mean, yeah, I'll try to catch this as you're getting destroyed. It's not really a sport where you can go through the motions, right? With the ball in your hand, you got to run. You got people chasing you. In basketball, you can just pass. I'll just stand over here. I think
you agree, like, you don't play hard on defense. I won't play hard on defense.
I think it's very, very difficult.
Buddy ball.
Now, we used to call these guys, I learned the term in Fresno State, and, a lot of old school coaches use this term in just the sport of football because you spend so much time in the locker room as locker room lawyers, and you never want locker room lawyers in there giving a different message. It's why, like, Lincoln Riley gets the job and he gets rid of a lot of players, right? Because I think you find out right away, like, yeah, this guy's not going to be on our same page. It's why you consistently see, I would say, in the NFL, when coaches and GMs come in fresh, there's just a lot of turnover. And half of it's just like, yeah, we didn't love this guy in the draft, or it's like, yeah, we don't think this guy's going to buy in, right?
Yeah.
And that it's a little unique because this guy, like Deebo, we love you. We drafted you. Like, you're our guy. We built our franchise around you on offense. I'm Kyle Shanahan. He's like, I know you're going to kill me.
I've seen what you've done to those running backs.
Yeah. I Googled your dad. About 7 different guys I'd never heard of every single year.
Fred Warner, I'm here if he needs me. Asked about his experience with the contract. Lombardi tweeted, it takes time. There's some patience involved in it. Tracy Sandler tweeting, Fred Warner says the Niners were open with him during contract talks. Quote, that's one of the best parts of this organization.
I really, for the most part, they haven't. The only quote unquote shady thing they've done with the player is the Buckner thing. And I think they allowed Buckner, member, to look at other contracts. Like, he he knew. So it didn't come out. They didn't do a cold-blooded trade it out of nowhere. He negotiated a contract.
Eric Armstead didn't know. Eric Armstead signed his contract. He didn't know.
He didn't know, but he got paid.
I know, but he just thought, like, me and Deforest, I did it, brother. You're up next.
You see, he was team captain at the Oregon spring game.
Yeah, he was there. And who else did I see there?
Was it LaMichael James, who's kind of put on some weight?
Might have been. I didn't see.
DeAnthony Thomas might have been.
I got to go back and look. I saw a picture of DeForest in Dan Lanning's office.
Yeah, with the D-line coach who is big, and
Tosh Lupoy.
And
was he there?
No, it's the Samoan guy. Is Lupoy the D-line coach?
Tosh Lupoy is their defensive coordinator.
Yeah, they have a Samoan guy. They might have kept from Mario, big dude with the big tat. Armstead towered over him, and this guy is a load. I mean, this guy looked like he played D-tackle in like 15 years ago for Oregon. I'm pretty sure he did. Dan Lanning, sneaky, a little bigger than I thought too.
Tony Tuioti?
Maybe they have a new Mario's D-line coach, and Chip had a different one.
He was Tony Tuioti was at Nebraska the last 3 years. He was an all-whack defensive lineman at, did he play at Hawaii? Worked at Cal, worked at Michigan. Anyway.
Is Michael James on their staff? Do you know?
I don't think he's on their coaching staff.
Oh, I thought if you
they always bring a bunch of guys around, so maybe he was there.
If you go to the Dan Lanning pick with Armstead and I think DeAnthony Thomas, I thought it was LaMichael in the pick, but it might have just been Lanning had a bunch of, like, Armstead was a captain and he invited other people. You have the picture?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, Lanning tweeted it on. Did they have their spring game on
Saturday? I'll have to ask Jeff Schwartz who the other guy is.
Elon got Twitter.
Is it official now?
Got it.
So what's it going to cost me? $2 a month now?
No, he just.
Oh, I read he's going to start charging.
He is?
Like $2 a month or something. But I mean, there's been a million things out there, so I don't know.
He said, free speech is a bedrock of a functioning democracy. Twitter. I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithms open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots. You know, the one issue with Twitter fights is an overwhelming percentage aren't real.
You don't know who you're like. Is this? Yeah, I agree.
And authenticating all humans. Twitter has tremendous potential. He is truly one of the great businessmen in the tech sector ever. And Twitter, as a public company, in the last decade, every tech company boomed. They made a huge amount of money, in terms of their stock price. Twitter didn't budge for a decade. Like this guy from a financial, I would contemplate investing into Twitter just based on him. I actually think a lot of people will. I wonder if Twitter stock price is going to, just on speculation that he might figure this out.
I think it's up 4% today or something like that, which, judging from everything else, I mean, it's better than most.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to think that, like, it hadn't changed in 5-6 years. Like, it just become, to me, this spinning wheel of, there's some good stuff for stuff that we do, but there's a lot of other which is never going to truly go away. But I mean, I was contemplating deactivating. Just the way it just put me in a bad place too often for the benefits. And I can just go on RotoWorld and find out all my sport information. I didn't really necessarily need it.
RotoWorld's not quite as efficient as I would love it to be, Yeah,
it's not as real time, but there's no other fluff. Like I don't want to get strays and collateral damage that make me angry. So the
problem is comments are part of my favorite thing.
But I'm not talking comments. I'm talking tweets. Comments I don't mind, because comments I have to see. Tweets, I just get it. Now, I probably... How many people do you follow? That might be my problem.
2,000.
Yeah, so I'm right around the same. 1945.
Did this comment get up? I'm trying to put this comment up from Steven or Stefan, and I can't get it up on the screen. You able to get it on?
Where?
On the chat. It's in yellow at the... want to give him his money's worth. There we go. Oh, you got it. Go ahead. What if the whole usage problem is Deebo frustrated with how the conference championship game played out? If he wants to say in play calling, when Deebo wanted the ball, he got it in the playoffs. Good job, fellas. Do you want he gets the ball a ton. Is he going to play call one at less? Run a play for Trey Sermon here?
Just an overall take, though, on individual play calling. He by no means would be the first, and he definitely won't be the last of an individual player getting mad at an individual game with play calling. I'm not saying that he is or not. That game's kind of fuzzy in my memory right now, but I would say for the most part, he got ridden down the stretch, right?
Yeah.
Like the play calling. Well, if you just ask a random guy that followed football and you'd be like, when the Niners made the NFC Championship, what would you consider their offense? They'd be like, Deebo Samuel. I mean, he was the offense. It wasn't like, they ran bombs. Yeah. Like Deebo Samuel was the offense.
So 54.31 per share. That's what he's buying it at. So you can't trade it because he's buying it all.
Yeah, I think it had sat in the 30s for a long period of time, for a decade. When basically, I mean, the stock market saw one of its greatest runs in the history of the stock market from like 2013.
But I mean, their point is like you can't buy the stock because he's buying it all up. He's buying the company private.
But I'm saying eventually you're going to be able to buy it at 55 or whatever I don't exactly know. It's a publicly shared company, right? It's no longer public.
They're going to start selling stock again?
Well, you would think.
I would think so too. Yeah,
but I don't know. That's
so
it's no longer on the stock market.
Well, I mean, I guess taking it, if he's buying it all, then it's not there anymore. Does he? Can he IPO again later? How does that work?
What if he IPOs and sells it all for like a 30% premium?
Is that allowed? Can you take a company private only to make it public again later?
He's going to make it private.
He's buying it all. Like he's buying all the stuff.
No, I get that.
I know. I'm just talking it out. I'm talking it out.
I hadn't quite thought, but don't like. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. I hadn't. Really
I think you had thought this is going to be such a great buy at $54.
I hadn't even thought $700. I hadn't even thought that far. I had just thought that, like, I don't know. I hadn't. That makes sense. If he's owning it all, it's not. There's no shares available. He owns them all.
Damn. John, confirmed that is LaMichael James in the photo with Dan Lanning.
That's what I thought. Looks a little thicker than he did back in the day.
Well, he's not smiling. If he was smiling, I might be able to. I've been in that office. Have you been in that office?
No.
It's a great office.
It's pretty sweet.
Just Jordan. You go to the Oregon football building. You've been in there. Just Jordans everywhere.
Well, they were building it when last time I was there. I went to their old offices that were all kind of connected. They were again.
How were they? They nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because, if you look at them now relative to like suite offices, you'd say they were shitty. Like I remember going to Pete Carroll's office in like '08. Or I guess Lane would have been there in '09, whatever. And thinking SC's offices were not nicer than ours at Fresno. And I remember going back as a scout after they built that new football office thinking like, this is pretty sweet. But even I would imagine SC relative to some in the country isn't as sweet as it once was.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the best in the Pac-12?
I mean, Oregon's for what it is. Oregon's is just pretty incredible. But there are some pretty good facilities. I mean,
when I was going to
Washington,
Washington was shitty, but they were building a new one.
Washington's really nice. The offices now, they're like in the state, connected to the stadium.
Utah was building a new one when I was going through.
Beautiful. Colorado's redone theirs. Theirs are really nice. ASU's are nice.
Colorado's still in the stadium.
Colorado is attached to the stadium.
Where you kind of can go to where the cafeteria is and look out at the field. It's pretty
you
cool.
can look right over the it's attached to the field.
I'd say the Cal new ones aren't bad. I mean,
no, Cal new ones are not
kind of limited to the stadium, but it's still pretty nice.
Washington's pretty nice. I've not been in the SC lately.
U of A, when I went, was in the basketball stadium or arena.
Yeah, I can't remember where they are. I know Jed Fish's office looks nice, but I've not been in there. I know ASU's is nice. Those are new and those are nice.
UCLA's?
I've not been in UCLA's coaches' offices. Oregon State's are about to be new. They're rebuilding.
Oregon State's were cool when I went in the stadium too.
Yeah, I like that stadium. Washington State's, I think, are pretty nice, kind of attached to the stadium. Same deal as like you overlooking the coach's office is like overlooking right there.
Oh, those are cool. To me, the Washington State campus, underrated. Cool.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
I don't know how cool the town is, but I just remember thinking the campus is like, this is a cool campus.
Their whole thing, the thing in Oregon is like you come out of the locker room, you got to like go down some steps and like cross the street. Washington State, they just open up some doors. You basically run right out of the locker room onto the field.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Cincinnati was a lot like this, of just the field being right. Like if you went to Washington State as a student, like, and you're just like on campus you're like, I'm going to go get a burrito. You just end up walking a lot by like the football stadium. And I love that kind of vibe. That's something that like USC, UCLA, even Oregon has it a little bit, but I don't know if campus is that close to where is the campus on the kind of the other side of the street.
Yeah. You're not walking by it on your way to class.
Where's Washington's campus? Not quite by the football stadium.
Yeah,
right?
It was like right across the street.
So it's by the lake.
You don't walk by it necessarily, but like the basketball gym is right there. It's right by the lake. So it's
ASU's campus. While you wouldn't necessarily just like look in the football stadium, it's all kind of right there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and Washington's football stadium has like they have like they have like a train. You can go to the airport. Like I don't know if it's like their BART exactly, but it stops literally right in front of the stadium. So people that are traveling, whatever, you go right in front of the stadium. Alex Mack feels like he's retiring, by the way.
Someone
way John
posted
about him today.
There was like a draft prospect on a visit, took an Instagram, and in the background there was a box and like a trash can.
Yeah. Big red trash can or yellow.
Like, listen, I if you can't find a center, I can't help you. And so he kind of mentioned Aaron Banks. He wouldn't name him a starter, but he's like, he's got a good chance to start. Like, you should be able to find guards and centers. It's very, very hard to find right and left tackles. Like, you got to be able to find guards and centers. You just, that to me is a scouting. Like, you're licking your lips. If you tell me as a scout, like, hey, in the mid rounds, can you find me running backs, guard centers, D tackles, guys like Hufunga, just like backups, but who can play. Like, that's where you got to be. It's hard to find the Deebos and the Nick Bosas. You got to do that in the top like 50 picks. But if you can't find guard centers, Hufungas, and running backs, like you should do that in your sleep as scouts. Specifically guards and centers, though. I mean, it's U-Potties and Quentin Nelsons. Like, yeah, you got to draft those guys high. But can you just find me a starting guard for 5 years making $900,000? Like, I bet if you just looked around the league, what would you imagine the starting guard average round is?
4.5, like between the 4th and the 5th.
Because wouldn't there be a ton of undrafted free agents that started guard and center?
Yep. I think one of the worst kept secrets probably the draft is that the Niners need a center. It may not even be a worst kept secret. We already saw them do this a couple of years ago when they wanted to acquire Trent Williams. Joe Staley waited to retire until after the draft. It kind of feels like, I said this a month or two ago. This is what this one feels like too. Like maybe they asked Alex, hold off until after the draft. We'll have our answer. If they draft the center, then
what's Linderbaum, I think is the
Iowa.
I had a buddy though tell me he's got 31-inch arms. So it's like go against DeForest Buckner. He's got 35-inch arms. He's grabbing you. You're like T-Rex in here. That makes me nervous. People freak out about arm length and a little like hand size. It's like, well, look in the league. How many people with small hands are good quarterbacks? And you'll be like, not many. How many good offensive linemen with short little arms? Not many. You don't need to be Trent Williams or Tyron Smith with like 39-inch arms, but it's hard. Like there's a reason, and I'm not the biggest boxing fan, but
the reach.
If you're watching a boxing match or definitely UFC, I mean, it's one of the, wouldn't you say it's beside their weight and they're always in the same weight class, it's the main thing that they talk about is the reach.
Which is
I can hit
the
you,
whole
you
thing.
can't hit me. I mean, but isn't that kind of lineman? Like you're grabbing me, I'm grabbing you.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of the basic premise of the position. That's why it's hard for me to play guard in Davis High in 02.
Really? You go against some big
I went up against what's his
Kyle
name?
Williams?
Well, no, what was the longtime guard from Oregon State?
Oh, Kyle Devan.
Kyle Devan, yeah. First we ran 28 sweep. I think first play of the game, he grabbed me and I flew.
He's coaching at Colorado now, and I was just in Boulder this week and I wanted to go talk to him, but I couldn't.
You should have said your podcast partner's good buddies with Jared Brady. It's a good family friend. He was at Arizona, I think, before Fish got there. Like, he's been now in the Pac-12 kind of circle.
Yeah. He was on the Sumlin staff, got let go there, and then went to he was an analyst for Jim Harbaugh last year.
You know, if you talk to him, you know who his guy is. I mean, he was
at SC. He was at SC too.
Howard Mudd made the van. He started at guard the year Peyton Manning and they lost to the Saints. Like that guy started at guard in a Super Bowl. I mean, it's pretty sitting with a recruit like, hey, you want to play for me? I started at guard for Peyton Manning in Super Bowl.
Not just for anybody, for the most demanding quarterback in the history of the league. Right?
Yeah. Shocker, he's a coach. What do you think an O-line coach like Colorado makes? $500,000?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Those are pretty good. You get fired at any year, but not a bad place to live.
Jobs are tough. You can win. It's good. Any other notes?
How beautiful is Denver? Just driving that through. Is that what you
well, it was 84 degrees, no sun the day I landed on Friday. It was like dusty and windy, totally overcast.
They have days like that there?
Well, apparently that's what happens when it's about to rain. It gets weird.
Did it rain on Saturday?
No, not that much. It was supposed to. I guess the rain got pushed back another day. They've had some fires down there, but Saturday was gorgeous.
They good?
We'll see. I don't know. They've got the true freshman who started for them last year. They got a Tennessee transfer quarterback who got hurt last year, who's back. So they got to have a quarterback competition. He had a big arm.
Who are their coordinators?
So Chris Wilson, who was on the staff last year, and their new offensive coordinator is Mike Sanford. You remember him? He was at Minnesota last couple of years.
Stanford guy, right?
Was it Stanford on that staff? Was the OC at Boise? Played quarterback at Boise, actually.
Western Michigan head coach for a minute?
Western Michigan or Western Kentucky?
It was Western Kentucky. Yeah, Western Kentucky. Head coach, though, right?
Head coach, yeah.
So you're like a younger...
Fun guy. Yeah, just like good energy.
Mid-40s, you'd say?
Yeah, probably something like that. Maybe
skinny,
early.
Former
maybe
quarterback?
Early 40s. Yeah, it looks like a Boise State quarterback, so he's not going to be 6'4".
Yeah.
Price for a flight from California to Florida, $40,000 to $50,000 one way.
I had heard this on a podcast that flights, I haven't been flying, that are outrageous right now. And I was playing golf with Hawkins on Saturday. He said he's going to Nashville for something over the summer, and his flight was like 4 figures. He's like, have you seen the flight prices? I'm like, no, I've heard on some like financial podcasts that flying's outrageous right now. What was your flight to Denver? $300?
Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy.
Maybe it's just certain cities.
Maybe 350. It wasn't anything crazy.
I remember I went to Miami for the Super Bowl. It was like $230 round trip
for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But all right. NFL draft is coming up. Final. John. MIDDLEKAUFF. Hold on. Draft board is here. You froze? Yeah, there you go. Draft board is here. Other side of that's the Stanford spring game.
What do you use there?
It's a Sharpie. Piece of sheetrock?
No, I'm saying, what is that board?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's just a styrofoam board. I use
Where
it
do
from.
Where do you buy that?
Office Max.
How big is the board usually?
Big.
And then you take like an X-Acto knife and cut out what you need?
A dull X-Acto knife, yeah.
What is that? What use Excel? How do you
the Mac version of Excel.
And then you cut it out and you paste it or you tape it?
It's 2 pieces printed, 2 pieces of paper.
Oh, and then you just like paste it or you tape it on?
Yeah. Not like Greg Papa who cuts out newspaper and tapes it.
Well, one thing I heard on the on that Belichick book is like when the players started thinking Patricia was kind of a clown, they're like, he has a pencil, but he has a laminated sheet. It's like he can't even mark on it.
So good.
Like, could you mark on that with a pen?
Yeah, this is all written with a Sharpie.
No, I'm saying on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just paper.
So you're not Patricia.
No. But there we go. There's the draft board. So helps me visualize the picks, you know?
Yeah. Who's give me a random number. See if I can guess. Hold it away so I won't.
21.
Steelers.
Close. They're 20. New England is 21.
Go a little higher. I feel like I don't know 15, like 10 to 15 range. I'm not very good on those.
Oh, okay. Well, 10, you know who's taking. Jets
I know 10 and 13, but 11, 12, 14, 15.
Yeah, 11 and 12.
I mean, that's a tough one. The Vikings probably somewhere around there.
Vikings are 12. Good call. Football team.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
11.
Who's 14 and 15?
Baltimore's 14.
God, when's the last time they drafted that high?
I know.
Philly. They'll nail that. Oh yeah, Philly's got
15.
Pick swap. What's Philly? 15 and 19 or 15 and 18?
15 and 18.
So what are the Saints? 16 and 19 or something?
Saints are 16 and 19.
Do the Jags have 2 picks in the first round or just 1?
Jags have just 1.
Oh, because they ran out of the Jalen Ramseys. Because Detroit has LA's, right? Who has 32? Detroit?
Detroit, yeah.
Be a lot of teams picking twice. I mean, there are going to be a lot of teams that like. I ran into buddy Joey, who runs the Bay Club now, Jim. And it was like, he's like, draft week, big football guy. Listen to the pod. He's a big Raider fan. And
who is it?
He's like, yeah, we don't have any picks. He's like, good. He's like, we miss them all anyway in the first round. He's like, I'm actually kind of excited. But there are, the Niners, the Raiders, the Rams. We're talking Seattle. I mean, I guess Seattle has one. There's just a lot of teams that are just out.
Here's the order. Seattle. What does Seattle have? Seattle have somebody else's pick?
Yeah, they got Russell Wilson.
Oh, they have 9. Seattle has 9. Kind of crazy. Like, what are they going to do at 9?
I feel like a pretty interesting stretch in the draft is like 15 to the early 20s. Eagles twice. Saints, what the hell are they up to?
Twice.
Who the Steelers going to pick?
Was anybody going to move, right? You got the Saints with 2 teams. You got the Chiefs, 2 picks. You got the Chiefs with 2 picks. Packers at 22. I mean, everyone's got to assume they're drafting a receiver, right?
Is that their first pick? Yeah.
Is New England going to go backwards?
Great question.
Jacksonville, Detroit, Houston, Jets, Giants. Carolina doesn't fire you up?
No.
The first 8 picks, Jacksonville, Detroit, Houston, Jets, Giants, Carolina, Giants, Atlanta, is basically every team that can show up on my TV on a Sunday morning. And I go, fuck. Jacksonville, Detroit, Houston, Jets, Giants, Panthers, definitely in that category, and Atlanta. Any one of those teams are on my TV on Sunday. It's like, no, I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
And those are the first 8 picks. And then you get Seattle, a team you watch. Then you go back to the Jets and the football team. So 10 of the first 11 picks are teams that you do not want to watch on television.
No.
First QB drafted, what pick?
I wouldn't touch any of it.
Top 10? Yes, we talked about that. ATL? Yeah. Probably would. I mean, because if you're their coach, how do you go another year without a quarterback? How are you getting a quarterback? Wait until next year? Be bad again? Everyone was in on it. It's all right. All right. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Thanks for hanging with us, everybody. Podcast coming back. Draft coverage coming up. And as it all happens, Ham is here.